Currently, you have only harnessed 1,000 megawatts. There is a potential of harnessing 10,000. So you have just barely scratched the surface. We require more power than is available from hydro, available from geothermal, and from the wind at the moment. Most people are asking, why nuclear and why now? I know most people have heard the story of many investors who have attempted to come to Kenya, but one of the reasons why they have not been able to establish their factories or their institutions is because of lack of power. The installed capacity in Kenya today is only 3,300 megawatts. The farm power is almost just equal to the demand at the moment. Among all the forms of generation, when you look at the statistics, nuclear is the safest. And the reason is because a lot of research has been done over time.
Welcome to the Energy Post podcast. My name is Frank, and I'll be your host today. Over the world, no economy has developed without power. Power is said to be the driver behind any economic growth, and the same happens here in Africa. This is the Energy Post podcast, where all the big conversations in Africa happen. But before power, there are people behind that business, and you have seen many of them on this set. Today, we are going to talk to one of the men sitting at the helm of Kenya's electricity generating company, KenGen. That is none other than the managing director and CEO of KenGen, Engineer Peter Njenga. Of course, you know him as the CEO of KenGen, but I don't think you know the man. Today, we'll introduce you to the man, Peter Njenga. Welcome on set, Engineer.
Thank you very much, Frank.
To start with, tell us about who is Waweru.
Waweru is a boy who grew up in the village almost 60 years ago. And I remember when I was growing up in the village,
Yes,
where our father was a serious farmer. And he used to tell us, you must go to school and study hard so that you can also take care of yourselves in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were many of us, and each time it came to opening of the school, we would line up to go and get our school fees from our father.
When you say many of you, just give us more color into that.
We are many.
Uh-huh.
In fact, me, I'm born in a family of 33 children.
33?
Yes.
You remember their names?
Yes.
Okay.
We are three families.
Yes.
My father is a polygamous, as a polygamous family.
Yes.
And me, I belong to the youngest family.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were growing up, we grew up as one. And as I was saying, we would line up to receive our money for school fees.
Oh.
And all of us, he would ask, what number were you last term? Yeah, and of course, it would mean that you had to work hard because that question would always come.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the young boy you are talking about.
Who was the oldest and the youngest? Just give us that range.
I am the oldest from my mother.
Yes.
But in the whole family, I'm, I think, number 12.
Okay.
In the whole family, because we have the first wife who had 9 children,
Mm-hmm.
the second wife who has 11 children,
Mm-hmm.
and the third one who is my mother with 12 children.
Uh-huh.
So you can see somewhere in between there. In fact, interestingly, from the 3 mothers, we are 3 of us who were born the same year.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're like twins, triplets.
Almost like triplets.
Uh-huh.
But from my mother, I came out first. From the first mother, there was another young man who came out,
Mm-hmm.
and then a girl came out from
Mm-hmm.
the second
Mm-hmm.
wife.
And now you have 11 siblings?
I have 11 siblings, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
How is that family set up like, being that large? How's Christmas like?
When you mention Christmas, one of the most memorable times that I can talk about, because as many as we were, we always expected gifts at Christmas time. And of course, you remember, for those who are old enough. Those
Chapatis.
days,
Yeah.
it's the only time that you'd enjoy a meal with the chapatis.
Yes.
And then, of course, our parents would also organize and buy you new clothes. Very interesting. New shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you used to go for the Kibuye market then in Kisumu. And those are the days you'll get corduroy trousers.
Yes.
You'll get a new shirt and you'll keep it the entire year.
Yeah. When you talk about corduroy trousers, it was one of my favorite
Yes.
outfits when I was growing up as a young man. Yes.
So do you still go back home and have those kind of gatherings as a whole family?
My father is deceased. May his soul rest in peace. Our first mother is also deceased. So rest in peace. But the other two mothers, my mother and the second wife, are still alive. And we lived in one homestead.
Yes.
Two families. One family was in Nyandarua and the other one in Nakuru County. But of course, during holidays, we would either be with the other family or wherever you can be. So it was an interesting environment.
So home is Nakuru.
Yeah, our home is in Nakuru. And that is where I have my rural home, by the way. Even today, I am very frequent. I frequent my rural home very often because it gives me energy for the week. Yes.
So are there some things you learned from your parents that you're carrying into your life today?
Oh, yes. And I remember one of the things, for example, from my father, is my father was a stickler of time. And I've said this before. If he said you're going to leave at a particular time, you would leave at that time.
Yes.
And from that, I have seen that develop in me. And I want to believe, even today, if you give me an appointment, I will always be very worried if I'm to keep you waiting. I would rather be there and I wait for you.
We're always worried about you because each time when you have an event, you'll be there ahead of everybody
Precisely.
else.
And that is something I took from my father. The second thing from my father is he was a very clean man. And, he used to wear white shirts, black and blue suits, number of pairs of shoes, always polished. And as we were growing up as boys, we would be shining his shoes over the weekend and line them up. So he was a very clean man. Yes.
So do you still shine your shoes today, or is that when you do?
I do when I have an opportunity. Yes. Sometimes the kind of work I'm doing currently, time is really of essence. But whenever I have an opportunity, I'm relaxing at home, I would always check my shoes and brush them. Yes.
Tell me about your mother. You say she's still at home?
Yes, my mother now, from the rural home, she shifted to Nakuru town. And currently, you can imagine a mother who was bringing up 12 children.
An empty
and
nest.
now she's almost alone at home.
Yes.
Whenever I have an opportunity to visit her, I always sympathize that she's just alone with, a house help. Very interesting that our mother took care of us. And I remember when we were young, she would make a meal and she would always remember, has everybody gotten a plate?
Okay.
There was one brother of mine, young brother, who would, the brothers who are cheeky and they would always disappear. And they should always say, don't forget so-and-so. As we are getting the food, don't forget so-and-so. Very keen to remember everybody. And even today, even as we are grown up, whenever I visit her, she would always ask, how have you met so-and-so? Have you met so-and-so? How are you still, engaging each other? So she's very keen to know how her children are doing wherever they are. And me being the firstborn, of course, I have quite a responsibility to ensure that I keep in touch with all of them.
Okay. Yes. Is she a member of your WhatsApp group?
No, unfortunately, no. She's elderly, and I don't even know whether she knows how to handle WhatsApp.
Okay.
Because I know sometimes even writing a message, somebody has to do it for her. But we do communicate. You can call and she communicates very well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very rare thing to have your parents to this age. It's something that very few are happy to have. Now, interestingly, you come from Nakuru and now you ended up working for KenGen in Nakuru County. How does that make you feel?
Very well, very exciting experience because whenever I go home, I always remember that Nakuru, and especially Naivasha, because
Yes.
I will carry. I always remember that I have some business running in Nakuru County. Recently, we visited the governor of Nakuru County,
Yes.
and it was very exciting to have interactions and get to know how can we support each other as KenGen and as the Nakuru County. So it always feels very good to be associated with Nakuru County and where we have most of our business, especially in geothermal generation.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll come and talk more about that. But now I want us to step a little bit back. Having grown up, I'm sure you went to school. How was schooling like? Which schools did you go to?
I told you, Frank, that I was brought up in a rural setup. So
Yes.
I went to school in a rural school, a place called Maunarok.
The school name we remember?
Yeah, it's Maunarok Primary School.
Okay.
And we, of course, that those are many years ago. If I can remember, I did my CPE, Certificate of Primary Education. I don't know whether,
Yes.
Frank, you remember or you have read about.
I wasn't there, but I remember.
You have read about CPE.
Yes.
So I did a Certificate of Primary Education in 1979.
Okay.
And our home and the school is 3 kilometers, and we would walk every morning and evening. And because of the distance, we would have to carry packed lunch so that over lunchtime we don't have to get worried about meals, especially when we go to the higher classes. So it was an interesting experience.
What were the schools like? The primary school, or was it like the classrooms?
Well, some of the classes were, of course, made of mud.
Yeah.
And the others are wooden. Although currently, when I go there, I find that all the wooden and the mud classrooms have been replaced with concrete.
Okay.
So there has been a lot of changes. But we used to school in wooden classes and the mud classes.
Maybe we should go back there sometime.
Yes.
You and I as KenGen.
Yes, and do something for the school.
Very true.
Yes.
So I'm sure they are watching. We'll
Yes.
be their visitors soon.
Yes.
And then after there, high school?
High school, I went to high school in Nakuru town, Afraha High School.
Afraha, yes.
Where I was from 1980, Form 1 to Form 4, 1983. Again, very interesting experience because Afraha High School is a day school. And because I could not get a place to stay in Nakuru,
Yes.
I was a young boy, by the way. I did my CPE when I was only 12 years old.
Oh.
So Form 1, I was 13 years, a very young boy. So when I got the position to join Afra High School, my father talked to a family friend in a place called Njoro, which is 18 kilometers from Nakuru. And I would commute every morning from Njoro
to Afra.
To Nakuru Afra High School. And then in the evening go back. Very interesting experience.
It was a mixed school or a boys' school?
It was a mixed school, yes. Yes. So you can imagine a young boy in a mixed school.
Away from the parents.
Away from the parents. You know some of the experiences.
Yes.
But I want to believe that because of the intensity of the challenges that we had been given by our teachers, we were actually focusing on studying. And I remember one of my classmates, he's a doctor currently, called Dr. Michael Udo. We used to compete. He would be number one this term, number two, and we would compete. And we competed. Even the final exams, we scored the same grade.
Wow.
Yes.
Do you still keep touch?
Yes, we still keep touch. Yeah.
So do you have a high school group of sorts, alumni?
Well, no, not really. We don't have a high school group, but I am in touch with some of the colleagues that I was with in high school.
Yeah.
One of them is, of course, Dr. Michael, and a number of them. Yes.
When you joined Form 1, was there bullying?
Not really, because this was a day school.
Okay.
No bullying, I understand, in boarding school is because people want to get the young boys who have just come in to work for them or do some duties for them.
Brush their shoes,
clean
and call their parents with their
clean
shoes.
their clothes and all that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of bullying that goes on. But here is where you go to class, you study, and then you go home and until the following day.
Okay.
Yes.
So as you went through until Form 4, were there career talks you used to receive in school? Are those things that you used to see then?
I remember we used to have some career teacher. Yeah, and they would talk about being an engineer,
Yes.
being a teacher, being a lecturer, being a doctor. Those kind of careers. We used to have those sessions. Yeah, once in a while.
So when did you first start going towards engineering?
My growing up, and maybe I should take you back when I was growing up. My father was a farmer, and he used to love machines. The tractors, the combine harvesters, because he used to grow barley and wheat.
Yes.
So we had the combine harvesters that are used for harvesting. You have tractors for tilling the land and planting, and doing all sorts of things. So
that's why he was able to have a large family.
Yes,
he could feed them.
Yeah, this was exciting.
Yes.
That I started seeing like there is something in this mechanization that is exciting. And I believe that is how I developed interest in having a career that would go into engineering.
Did you at one point try to break this equipment and?
Oh yes. But again, I've told you I have many siblings. And
Yes.
the elder ones, one of my elder brother, and he's late. May his soul rest in peace. He was actually my father's mechanic who used to repair. He had taken him to courses to study how to repair these engines and the machines, especially the combine harvester. And it used to excite me. He would get the whole engine, dismantle it, and by evening, put everything back into pieces and whatever, and the engine starts running. So that used to fascinate me a lot. And I know when I went to high school, again, from the classes of the career that you can take, we were told that if you want to do engineering, you have to be good in mathematics.
Yes.
You have to be good in physics, and you have to be good in these technical subjects.
Yes.
So I believe that is the reason why, personally, I had a lot of keen interest in mathematics and in physics. I also did very well in biology.
Okay.
It is a science. So
Yes.
I was good in science subjects. I used to have a lot of challenges in
the arts.
In the arts.
History and the rest.
Yeah, the history and
but I'm sure CRE you were okay.
Literature. CRE was okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So university then?
Yeah, fast forward, Form 4, I did in Afra High School. Did very well because I got an opportunity to join Kagumo High School in Nyeri, one of the top 10 schools that time. And I know Kagumo still performs very well even today. And did Form 5 and Form 6. Again, got very good grades and joined University of Nairobi.
The NYS somewhere in between?
Yes, of course. How can I forget that?
Yes.
And, NYS, that time, when you finish your Form 6, we used to stay out for almost 2 years before you join university. So when I left Form 6, the following year, I got a job. I don't know whether you know about untrained teachers.
Yes.
I got a job as an untrained teacher in one of the neighboring towns.
You used to call them UTs.
Untrained teacher in a school called Elbagon, day school.
Yeah.
And it was Elbagon. It's a center, and I think I used to commute. Again, I think commuting was something for me. I would commute a distance and then walk a distance to the school. So I did that for a year. And then after that, we joined National Youth Service, where again we were trained. And I think that's where again I developed an interest in exercises.
NYS, was it in Nairobi or in Nakuru?
In Gilgil.
Okay,
in Gilgil, in Nakuru County.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where we used to go.
So your life was around Nakuru until...
Interestingly.
So when did you leave Nakuru?
After university, of course, University of Nairobi here in Nairobi.
Yes.
After graduating, 1990,
So you joined the university to study engineering.
Yes, yes. I was so sure that I want to go and do engineering. And because some of us, we believed that we are tough. We actually went for the toughest engineering course. And that time they said that electrical engineering is the toughest course among the engineering courses. So I took that one and said, this is the one I'm going to do.
Tell me about that debate. I've always had it.
Yes.
Being in the engineering sector here, there's mechanical engineering. They have their own says.
Yes.
The civil engineering,
electrical.
What is that debate all about? Isn't it all the same?
It's not the same because you see electrical, you're talking about electrons.
Yes.
Yeah. But now when you go to mechanical, it's actually, mechanical things. A motor vehicle and those kind of machines that I was talking about.
Yes.
I actually don't know why I did not go and do mechanical. I decided to do electrical.
Yes.
Because mechanical is what I used to see my brother, practically doing. But nevertheless, we thought that electrical was the toughest. And because I had done very well in physics and chemistry and mathematics, I thought that one it should be challenging enough. Yes.
Yeah. So how was it past year?
Oh my goodness! Let me tell you. After being a very good grade student, my first continuous assessment test, I got below 20%. I was shocked. I was shocked. How? If you are used to getting over 70%, 80% in your...
But of course, now you went and got the best of the best in the
same
same class.
Of course. But, and in the whole confusion, I don't know how many, I think we were 100 and something, 120 students doing electrical engineering. There was still somebody who got 90% when I got 20. But majority of us were shocked into reality that this is a different ball game.
Yes.
I think after we went to university, there was a lot of freedom. Nobody is asking you whether you did your assignments, or where you go after you do your supper or whatever you do over the weekend. Nobody was bothering with that. So that shook us back to reality and to realize that we need to also concentrate and focus on our studies. Yes.
While on that, there's this clamor to take our children overseas to study their undergrad.
Yes.
And their parents who say when they are on their own out there, you're never sure about whether they're studying or not. And their parents who are for the view that, no, let them do undergrad locally and then go for masters abroad if they want. What is your view on that?
I think considering the current situation, because even when you are locally here and you can see majority of the students who are in these universities, they have all the freedom. The parents are never with them. So even when they are out there, as long as that person has grown up in an environment where there is discipline, they will be able to take care of themselves. But of course, chances are higher for that person to be misled by peer pressure when they're out there, because they know my mother may not come to see me, or my mother will take time before they call me, or my father. So I would really advocate, if it is possible, with improved environment in studying here locally.
Yes.
It's better for those people to go through the undergraduate in home environment or in your home country, and then if you want to do masters or postgraduate, you can do it out there. That is after you have matured enough.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm told a child matures after 23 years.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Before then, they are still
yeah.
So now, how was schooling after getting 20? How did you change that to end up graduating?
I took my studies very seriously, and personally, even today, I'm a morning person. I keep telling people, if you want me to be active, engage me in the morning. So I would do my studies as from 4 o'clock. I wake up very early in the morning, 4 o'clock, up to about 6 o'clock. I bathe and go for breakfast and go to classes thereafter. So it is a question of now putting more effort, and that is what I believe bore fruit. And of course, when you are a group, you must identify those people who are like-minded.
Yes.
You can have group discussions, yes, to challenge each other.
So the graduation day, how was that like? Do you remember?
Very well, and I've told you I have a big family. Interestingly, me, I have an interesting history because by the time I was graduating, I was already married.
Oh,
Yes.
and I was going to ask you about marriage after graduating.
I married even before.
Okay.
Before graduation.
Yeah.
And I remember, there is what we call the rehearsals. So I had my wife with me and a few friends of mine. And
she was in the same university.
Yeah,
also.
in the same university.
So how did you meet her? Because I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, very interesting question. I met my wife as when you go to university, of course, there are those who are ahead of you, and perhaps you come from the same village or from the same county.
Yes.
And I remember there is a friend of mine called Mina who came from my village. And when I came to the university, of course, I had to look for him because I knew he is at the university. So when I got him, he introduced me to his friends. And I remember it was one weekend, I think we had gone to visit one of his friends. And this friend, I think he had a girlfriend who now came with, this girl whom I started looking at, and I found this can be a good person to join life with. Yes, that's how it happened. Yeah. Very, very early in my life at the university, and that's how I ended up marrying while I was still at the university.
So I really want to understand this because was it second year, third year?
This lady, my wife,
Yes,
she was 1 year behind me. So she came to the university when I had just gone to second year.
Okay.
So that's when she came. And I think when her friend was taking her,
What was she
around,
studying?
and
What was she studying?
she was studying medicine.
Okay.
She's a doctor.
You went for the best.
Well, that is, when you believe you're good, you also go for the best. Yes. That's how it happened. And we started the relationship. It blossomed. And finally, we got together.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you go to a home and pay dowry and all those kind of
Oh,
things?
yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I remember our baby came just when I graduated. We got our first born.
Okay.
And we had to go through those processes, to ensure that we pay the dowry. And she comes from Muranga. So we
I'm told Muranga are very good people.
Got my family people together,
Yes.
went to Muranga and, paid dowry. That was in 1991. 1991.
At the height of
And about 5 years later,
yes,
we did a formal wedding. Yes.
In church.
In church, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I remember we did it in our home area. The normal traditional way you do the church, you do the wedding in the church where the wife is coming from, but the reception goes to where the man comes from. Yes. So we did our reception at Steamer Club here in Nairobi, all the way from Muranga.
Okay.
After the wedding, we drove all the way to Steamer Club for the reception.
How did you know about Steamer Club then?
I was already working with Kenya Power.
Okay.
Yes, I joined Kenya Power in 1991.
Okay.
Yes. So that was a very convenient place where you have big ground. If you have big, people coming to attend, we were assured. Yes, very convenient.
Okay. I still want to hear about the graduation. You said the entire family came. So how was it?
Not the entire family. Of course, it's a huge family, but, a few of them managed to come. And it was an interesting event. Later, I think we must have gone for some little in my house. That was the graduation was 1990. No, I hadn't even gotten a job that time.
Yes.
My first job, by the way, was a lecturer at Kenya Polytechnic here in Nairobi.
You taught?
I taught.
Yes.
And there are people I meet today, and they call me Mwalimu. Mwalimu, how are you? So it excites me when I remember that. So it was a low key graduation because we came from my parents were from Nakuru rural home, so they could not come all of them. So it was a low key graduation ceremony.
Okay.
Yes.
After your degree, you went further studies after that?
It took some time because after working at Kenya Polytechnic for 1 year, was a lecturer, I later did interview Kenya Power and got employed in Kenya Power. The process of training as a graduate engineer, we were training for 2 years, a whole 2 years, going around the country in different places, in different functions, just to learn what happens in the organization.
Okay.
And it is much later, I think. When did I do my master's?
Okay.
I graduated in 2011.
So that's the MBA.
That's the MBA. That's just when I graduated. Although I had studied it a while earlier, but completing and graduating was 2011.
I know, with the nature of work.
Yes, because we used to be very busy.
And then family also.
At one point, I was working in Nairobi, here in University of Nairobi, doing the master's. Then I was transferred to Sika, so it became a challenge, and then sometimes I had breaks in between.
So let's go and look at your career now.
Yes.
And your first job was at the Polytechnic.
Yes.
So how was that like?
The Polytechnic, of course, because my background is electrical engineering, I was teaching mathematics. I was also teaching electronics, electrical and electronic subjects. Those were my main areas. And I was teaching people who are to graduate with the diploma.
Yes.
The technicians that
Yes.
we normally have in our organization. So it was exciting. For that 1 year, I could see myself impacting knowledge on others.
Yeah.
What I know, I'm able to impact. So I felt like that should have been my career. And if only it was well paid, because I think the reason why I decided to look for another job, I have a young family, so the demands are quite high. So the salary was a bit low.
Yeah.
So I was looking for better opportunity where perhaps I can get better money. And that's how I ended up now in Kenya Power, because I remember my salary at Kenya Polytechnic, I think it was 5,000 shillings.
Okay. We may not know what that means now.
You may not, but if you look at it was enough money.
Yes.
I remember I could be able to, pay rent, and buy the necessary needs for my family. 5,000.
Oh.
But now when I moved to Kenya Power, my salary improved from 5,000 to 7,500. That was a big jump by over 50%. Yes. Yeah.
All right. So from there, you moved to Kenya Power.
Yes. Kenya Power, a long journey, because that was just 1 year in Kenya Polytechnic. And I joined Kenya Power in 1991 in November. And worked here trained for 2 years, and later was employed here in Nairobi. And I joined the Department of Customer Service.
Okay.
That is dealing with the customer complaints. Initially, when we joined, we were actually dealing with the area where they deal with issues concerning customers who want to be connected. The new applications where when they raise issues, processing those applications and taking them to the design and construction department. So for design and then quotation, we quote them, and then people, the applicants would pay. Then we follow up the issue of connection.
Yeah.
They are connected, they are metered. That's what we used to do. But along the line, I went now into the issue of billing.
Yes.
Where you now have to deal with the meter reading, deal with revenue collection, and any customer service complaints. That is where I actually did most of my time in Kenya Power. Until finally, of course, when I rose through the ranks to the position of a senior engineer in customer service.
Okay.
And opportunities arose for promotion to what we would call, I think there was a time we had a structure.
Yes.
Which was having zonal. We used to call them zonal heads.
Yes.
They're in charge of a zone, a particular area, manage everything from customers applying for new connection, customers managing their power issues, managing the power billing and the meter reading and everything, and revenue collection.
Yes.
Everything to do with that issue of supply to customers from entry to the end. And I became a zonal head for some time.
Where was this?
This was here in Nairobi.
Okay.
I used to manage the area of Kikuyu, Kikuyu, Karen, those areas. Then later that structure was changed again. I was moved to Thika to specifically do the customer service function. Then some time later, I was taken to Nyeri, and from Nyeri, I now got an opportunity. Did an interview, and I was promoted to be a regional manager. And I came back to Nairobi to handle one of the regions. Nairobi was divided into 3 regions at that time. So I was one of the regional managers in Nairobi, where I worked until after that for some time. And then I was moved to project management. From project management, I went again to customer service, where I was handling at a central office issues of customer experience and complaints. I used to handle what they call the National Contact Center. And then from there, fate had it that I became a general manager, specifically handling street lighting. And the street lighting projects were very active at that time. So I did a lot of street lighting projects across the country. Even today, there are very many of the parliamentarians who still know Peter Njenga because of the work I did.
Yes, because it helped them.
I helped them a lot, doing the street lighting. And then finally, after that, another change came, and I got a job of what we call general manager, regional management. The person who oversees the regional managers.
Across the
Then
country.
I was a regional manager at some point.
In Nairobi.
Then I went to be being a manager in projects. Then I became a manager in customer experience and national contact center. And then now later, I became the general manager in charge of regional. General manager in charge of street lighting. Then later, general manager in charge of regional coordination. Just before I joined KenGen, I had just become general manager infrastructure development. Now, I was there for only 1 month.
Okay. So it seems like you've really been into customer service and customer care.
Yes.
You understand that system so well. Take me to the center at the heart of Kenya Power when a customer calls and complains about something. Let's say power outage.
Yes. Very interesting because, the systems have developed nowadays because you can have the systems where you just dial a number. And if you have a particular, complaint, you just dial a particular number. That complaint is captured, just like many other
9777. We takes you there.
But you can imagine previously you had to capture the queries through a form and record them in a book. This is this place. This is this place. Give it a number in a register. This is the account number. This is the location. This is the kind of complaint. Allocated the number. Then you are able to fill up a sheet and you give it to the team that is handling these issues. So that is the kind of engagements that we have gone through. When it comes to customer service, the main issues are in meter reading and billing. I have not paid my bill because the bill is not correct. Then you have to organize for somebody to go and verify the reading. Things have changed today because we have smart meters. Majority of the customers are now on prepaid meters where you don't have to read the meters. You just buy tokens. You get token and you consume power. So things have changed. I remember one of the most challenging times was when I was a supervisor at Electricity House. We used to call them commercial offices. And I was a supervisor there. And at that time, we had just changed a billing system from one system to a new system. And the queues of complaints, because I think a number of data had not been migrated well to the new system. And there were many challenges. So we used to have queues. And I remember I used to have a queue from morning to 7 o'clock in the night. People queuing to come and see me complaining about their bill. So it was a very tough time.
I can imagine. Now, many Kenyans today keep on asking these questions. We have Kenya Power, we have KenGen, we have GDC, we have Ketraco, all these systems. But I think people still do not know clearly who does what. Can you just quickly run us through the value chain of electricity generation in Kenya?
Wonderful question, because in power generation, power in the industry, you have to talk about generation. And even before you talk about generation, how do you get these sources together? For example, when we talk about hydropower, how do you collect this water and have it in one place so that it can go and drive the machines
Yes.
to generate the power. So somebody has to build the dam. And in our instance, for example, when you go to Eastern, you see that Tarda,
Yes.
they're the ones who built the dams like Masisi and
Exactly.
Kiambere.
Exactly.
And KenGen now, harnesses the water, and the water goes and drives the turbines and drives the generator and generate power. So you have a number of players.
Enablers.
You come to geothermal, you have GDC,
Yes.
which does the drilling and gets the steam. Although originally GDC was part of
Yes.
but because of trying to bring in efficiency so that you can have somebody focusing on this and de-risking the process of geothermal drilling.
Yes.
That's how GDC was born. So we have those who are facilitating the resources that are required for you to generate power. Then we come in as the power generators, KenGen,
Yes.
and the independent power producers. You generate that power. Then that power is generated from one location, but most often it is required in another location.
Exactly.
For example, you talk about Eastern, down Tana River. That power is mostly required here in Nairobi. So you have to transmit it from there to here.
Yes.
So that's why now you bring in the transmission. Ketraco comes in to handle the transmission of that power from that location to where the load is.
So they are the ones manning this long.
The big pylons are done by Ketraco. Previously, all this was under one umbrella because you used to have Kenya Power dealing with generation, transmission, distribution, and retail. Then after you have transmitted this power to the load center,
Yes.
you have power stations that step down the power to the required levels of voltage. And from there now, Kenya Power takes over and distributes it to the industries, to the homes, to the SMEs, and anybody else who requires to use their power for whatever work they want to do.
You've mentioned something, step down the power. What does that mean?
Interesting, because in the area of electricity, for you to transmit power is voltage multiplied by current.
Okay.
Current is the electrons that move in the transmission lines.
Yes.
So, and for you to be able to transmit enough power, you can either have a very high current or a very high voltage. These are the variables for you to have. Say you want to transmit so much power. Now, current is what causes losses, because as it flows through the wires, you have the technical losses. If you want to reduce the technical losses, then you have to reduce the current, and then increase what? The voltage. So when you generate power at one of the hydro power stations, the voltage is perhaps even 11,000 volts. But if you want to transmit that power to a long distance and to reduce the losses, you have to step up the voltage to a very high level, then you reduce the current. Then when you get it to the other end, for you to be able to use that power here, you have to reduce to step down that voltage to levels that can be handled at this level.
I've heard that story before, but it has never been this clear. How let's just say 11 kV, 33 kV, but today you've made it very clear.
Yes. That is how it is, because in a building like this, you're using voltage of 240 volts, and it was transmitted at maybe 220 kilovolts. So you have to step it down. That's why you have big substations where you have transmission like Kimuka. I'm sure you know Kimuka. When you're on your way to Suswa, there is a new station there, which is a step down substation from very high voltage to lower voltage that can be used now to distribute power to the load centers.
So let's focus about KenGen now in terms of generation.
Yes.
What do you use? What are the sources that you have?
KenGen, we have a number of sources. I've already talked about hydropower generation using water to drive the turbines. Very important, because the earliest form of generation is actually hydro. Yes. And then we also have geothermal. That is the steam that is obtained from very deep into the earth. 3 kilometers, you are able to harness that steam. And that steam, again, with the pressure that it comes out with, is able to drive the turbines and generate power. That is happening in Olkaria, it is happening in Menengai, and it is happening in Eburu. And there are very many other areas where we have that potential for geothermal. Currently, we have only harnessed 1,000 megawatts. There is a potential of harnessing 10,000. So we have just barely scratched the surface. You go to Ngong, you have the wind, about 25.5 megawatts that we get from Ngong. I'm sure when you look up the Ngong Hills, you see those turbines styling. They are turned by the renewable source of wind that is driving those turbines, and we generate power. We also have the thermal fuel. I mean, the thermal power done from fossil fuel. The fuel itself, we have Muhoroni, which uses kerosene. We have Kipevu, which uses the normal HFO fuel, and this is because we require more power than is available from hydro, available from geothermal, and from the wind at the moment. So we have to back up that with the fossil fuel. Yes.
And you're running a small solar power plant?
Yes, on behalf of REREC. I did not finish the story that when you come to distribution, you have Kenya Power doing distribution, mainly distribution retail, but REREC, which is the Rural Electrification authority that commission that does extension of power to the rural areas.
The last mile connectivity.
Yeah, the last mile connectivity. They focus on that. And so they have a small power, solar power plant in Garissa, which we run on their behalf.
And of course, now we're hearing about nuclear.
Oh, yes, nuclear, a very interesting area. Yes.
Now, sadly, MD, that will be our time for now. I'm seeing us doing a part 2 for this,
yes,
where we'll talk about the nuclear energy.
Can I say something about nuclear?
Yes.
Because it's a very interesting area, and most people are asking, why nuclear and why now?
Yes.
I know most people have heard the story of many investors who have attempted to come to Kenya, but one of the reasons why they have not been able to establish their factories or their institutions is because of lack of power. And I know our president has talked about the issue of data centers.
Yes.
Who wanted to come and establish data centers in
1 gigawatt of power.
But they want 1 gigawatt of power, but it is not available. The installed capacity in Kenya today is only 3,300 megawatts. Our maximum demand, or the highest demand at any time, has now gone up to 2,400.
Yes.
Yeah, 400, I think, almost 50
yes.
Megawatts. And considering that we have a composition of what we call variable renewables, the solar is variable. It depends on the weather. If the cloud comes, the power goes off. Wind is also variable. I know when there is rain, where we harness a lot of wind, especially even here in Ngong, there is no wind when there is rain.
Yes.
Isn't it? So these are what we call the variable renewables. So yes, a good part of that is in the 3,400, 3,300 installed capacity. So the farm power is almost just equal to the demand at the moment.
The peak demand.
The peak demand at the moment. So that's why we need now to think about what other form of power that can come in and ensure that we have more farm power, that investors can actually come to our country with a lot of confidence and establish whatever installations they want to do, and we have power for them.
Okay.
And that's why nuclear.
People are asking, is nuclear safe?
Very safe. In fact, among all the forms of generation, when you look at the statistics, nuclear is the safest. And the reason is because a lot of research has been done over time. A few accidents have happened in the world, and people have built nuclear power plants to the extent that even if a plane comes and crashes, it will never break into that nuclear power plant. That is how safe those nuclear power plants are today.
Okay.
Yes.
And the question about it being next to a cooling water body?
Important, because you need to cool it.
Yes.
To cool. The water is just used for cooling. And it doesn't mix with the nuclear material, by the way. It just goes into the system and goes out.
Yes.
Goes into the system and goes out.
Okay.
Yeah, for cooling purposes.
Any parting shots?
Yes, I'm happy to be involved in Kenya in the debate of ensuring that we have adequate power. And at the moment, KenGen is going to participate in ensuring that going into the future, Kenya is a powerhouse of power. We have had this debate of selling power to our neighboring countries. And why can't we participate? We are buying power from Ethiopia,
Yes.
buying power from Uganda. Can we now think of being the ones who are selling? Yeah. Even the Bible says the person who gives is more blessed than the one who receives.
I think that's a good place to end this. But as you've seen it, this is going to be a very interesting edition. We've just done one part with the man himself, Engineer Peter Njenga, this man sitting at the helm of KenGen. When you come to part 2, we're going to talk about the story of KenGen, looking into the diversification story, how Kenya is getting into Africa and other places to do drilling for geothermal. A lot more about KenGen is yet to be talked about. This was just the beginning. Yes. Thank you very much. Enjoy the show. Please share with your friends and keep it here. This is the Energy Post podcast.